intelligence racing after a weekend in the country. Our music on a lively stroll. A weekend in the country, as we're losing our control. A weekend in the country, so inactive that one has to lie down. A weekend in the country where we're twice upstairs and twice as 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 upstairs.
At the moment, as we're here in New York, there's a hugely successful revival of Little Night Music. It must be very satisfying to see the work revived and, as it were, put into a different cultural context, really. Not massively, but different enough, and still working very well. It must be very satisfying to see it have another life.
Well, you know, that's the joy of the theater. That's where I'd much rather work in the theater than in movies. I love movies, but, you know, once you've done a movie, they always give the same performance, you know. It doesn't vary. The fun of the theater is not only watching it grow and changing and shaping it as in front of an audience, even as it's running, but then somebody wants to do a revival, and they say, let's do it all in yellow. And then you see it all in yellow, and maybe that's good, and maybe that's bad, but it's alive, and it also stimulates new directors and new actors to play the piece. So it's constantly alive.
You must meet my wife.
If I must, yes I must.
A sea of winds that I submerge in, yet so lovable in repentance. Unfortunately still a virgin. But you can't force a flower.
Don't finish that sentence. She's monstrous.
She's frightened,
unfeeling,
unversed. She'd strike you as unenlightened.
No, I'd strike her first.
Her reticence, her apprehension.
Her crust.
No.
Yes.
No.
Frederick.
You must meet my wife.
Let me get my hat and my knife.
What was it?
I must meet your wife.
Yes.
Yes, I must.
It's wonderful having this great bank balance of past shows which keep coming back all over the place.
Yes, I must say I'm delighted and surprised at the number of revivals of the shows. And it's partly, again, it sounds, you know, faux modest, but it's because the books are so strong that those shows are worth reviving. Because, you know, a score is not enough reason to revive a show, because you can get that on a CD. But if the story and the characters are really solid, then, like any good play, it's worth reviving. And that's true of over half the shows I've been connected with. They really are first-rate librettos and worth reviving.
So when you're writing about your own lyrics in these books of lyrics that you're just finishing, a proofreading, as you say, starting the proofreading of one of them today, the copy editing or the proofreading?
Copy editing.
Copy editing today. What do you say about that sort of lyric? What are you musing on when you're?
Oh, exactly what I just told you. Yeah. I talk about the pleasure I have in writing plotted lyrics.
So, in a way, complicated is seductive for you.
Oh, very. Very, very. It's, you know, simple is always the hardest, right? You must know that yourself as a novelist. Simple is really hard to do. And complicated is easier.
When you've been writing about your lyrics, presumably over the last few years or many years, because you were commissioned to do it back enough a long time
14 years ago.
14 years ago. What have you surprised yourself? Is there anything that surprises you?
Yes, actually, I have. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I'm afraid it requires a slightly immodest statement. Some of the stuff is better than I remembered. I thought, that's a good choice. That's a good choice. That was very clever. That's nice. That lands right. There are the other moments where you think, oh no, oh how I could do that, but that doesn't happen very often. So yeah, and also of course, it reawakens memories of the circumstances in which one wrote it, and that's fun. So you get into, you know what it is there are things that I wish I could improve, and I still don't know how to do it. I thought it would be nice for the reader if I could say, I should have written this line, and once or twice I have found that. I said, if I'd thought of this, it's better. But most of the time, I still can't figure out how to fix that.
Are you rather surprised the strength of some musical theatre today? Because it's one of the forms that people have been predicting for a long time. It's over, haven't they?
Yes, no, it seems, and it's going in many directions, and it's attracting young people. I deplore, of course, the musicals that are merely based on catalogs of popular songs, things like that, because it's not pushing the musical theater forward. But the ones who are the young writers who are trying to explore the form within telling a story, trying to tell a story in different ways, just the way playwrights of the 60s experimented with ways of telling stories. Finally, musical theater writers are experimenting with ways of telling stories.
And there's a lot of that going on in New York, is there?
Well, it's not so much in New York, I'm sorry to say. There's some of it off-Broadway. It's all over the country. It's regional theaters. Not an awful lot of new work gets to Broadway. It's too expensive, and producers are fairly unwilling to take a chance on unknown writers. They're fairly willing to take a chance on a score that's been, a pop score, and you put it into a so-called jukebox musical. But new writing, they're very hesitant. And the two pieces that have made the most splash in the last few years are Spring Awakening and Next to Normal, and they both came from off-Broadway theaters.
Yes.
And that's now, when I grew up, you tried shows out of town and brought them in. Now you try shows off-Broadway and hope that somebody will pick up on them and bring them to Broadway.
So here we are in your house. You're approaching 80.
Rapidly.
We're all expecting great pearls of wisdom. A few sentences would do, Stephen.
Melvyn, I have a feeling you've pulled this on other people before. I have no pearls of wisdom to say. I wish I had some quotes. I should have. All right, Alice Roosevelt said, "First you're young, then you're middle-aged, then you're wonderful."